I wonder if there are any video games that are about puppets and toys and things like that, and could potentially end up giving you an existential sense of dread. Oh, I wonder if there are any video games like that, specifically released for the Mega Drive, that end up having an interesting backstory and development, and then also end up having weird comparisons between the US and the Japanese version. Oh, I wonder if there are any games like that.
It's a good thing you should ask. Hello Internet, I'm from the Internet and my name's Mr. Matt, and this week we're looking at Dynamite Headdy, and instead of a review, we're actually having a complete overview. Oh, that's going to be nice. Roll the titles.
In the early 90s, Masato Magawa was working at Konami after dreams of games development. He and a collection of others would go on to develop titles such as The Simpsons for arcade, along with Super Castlevania 4 and Contra 3 The Alien Wars for the SNES. But during this time, they had grown frustrated with Konami's reliance on only using established franchises and sequels, making the team want to develop a whole new title, as that's what they felt consumers wanted. When they approached Konami with a new idea, it was shot down, resulting in Magawa and the team leaving Konami, forming a new independent studio called Treasure, as their want to be a treasure to the industry. They established a partnership with Sega to utilise the Motorola 68000 microprocessor in order to get their vision off the ground. However, it had a caveat. They had to develop McDonald's Treasureland Adventure, which, whilst it was a new title, it was kinda leaning on an established franchise, which wasn't quite what they wanted to do. But it did mean that they could develop the game that would go on to become the critical and commercial success Gunstar Heroes in 1993. Gunstar Heroes is one of the most popular titles from the Mega Drive library. However, we're here to talk about what Magawa and the crew followed it up with: Dynamite Headdy. A 2D side-scroller released in 1994, published by Sega for the Mega Drive and Game Gear. A port exists in Brazil for the Master System. It follows the adventures of the puppet hero Headdy, who is visiting his friends Headcase, Hangman and Biao. However, upon arrival he finds Puppet Town being attacked and is captured, the Puppet and Toy Town's folk being processed either for conversion or incineration. Headdy, of course, is declared for incineration, which is a bit of a hindrance on the day. After escaping from the bin, Headdy runs and the game begins. Stages within Dynamite Headdy play like, well, a play, with a literal stage being where you have to run through, with stage directions, scene and act numbers along the woodwork displayed, letting you get the impression that this really is just a big story. Along with this is the PAL and US versions having stage titles that are parodies of film names, with such levels as Stair Wars, Fly Hard and Terminator 2. Here is a snippet from the manual to see how they attempted to set the story.
On stage rampage, the curtain is raised and the Treasure Theatre show begins. The star of the show is Dynamite Headdy, the guy with the coolest head on stage. But danger lurks backstage. Trouble Bruin, a henchman of Dark Demon, stirs up trouble as he tries to do away with Headdy. But Trouble Bruin is small stuffing compared to Dark Demon, who strives to rule the world by converting the inhabitants into his evil minions. Most devastating are the Keymasters, who serve as Dark Demon's elite guard.
Headdy's primary attack is his head, whilst his weak spot is his little body. You can switch heads by picking them up from Headcase, who will cycle through a selection of heads. giving you new tools to get through levels. Sometimes new paths open up depending on which head you grab. There are spiky heads for climbing, a hammer head to smash opponents and open new paths, a bomber head, a snoozing head, a fat head, along with a bonus head which opens a basketball minigame, which upon winning will give you a number you have to remember or write down to open a secret bonus boss. Stages pop with colour and bring new challenges and functions, surprising you at every turn with what treasure would cook up in every act and scene. It is amazing how many tricks and technical achievements they were able to show within Headdy's world. One scene could be a large rotating tower, another could be a boss fight where the stage flips, platforms tilting up and down, large balls smashing around. Everything here is to excite the player as they attempt to defeat Dark Demon, save the girl, and become the hero. Development on Dynamite Headdy began after Gunstar Heroes. However, after Treasure was split into two for the development of Gunstar Heroes and McDonald's Treasureland Adventure, the now larger Treasure split into four to work on four projects at once. Alien Soldier, Yu Yu Hakusho Makio Totsuyaten, I have no idea if I pronounced that right, and Light Crusader, along with Dynamite Headdy. Koichi Kimura, who had previously worked on projects that had been from others, was keen to stretch out his creativity, being inspired by Western animation and Terry Gilliam's film works. The team took this style of having no way of knowing what would happen next, along with having the sense of the unexpected appear, and applied it to Dynamite Headdy. One of the big things about Dynamite Headdy's development are the changes between the Japanese release and the rest of the world. As usual for games during this time, many of the names changed along with stage titles, which is where we get the film parody titles from. However, another huge change was the difficulty. Sega of America wanted to ensure players didn't just blow through the whole game on rental, so they requested that Treasure up the difficulty, and they happily obliged, making it twice as difficult in the Western release, with damage increased so players would have a tougher time. We also saw alterations to characters and bosses, with a geisha boss becoming a crazed robot for example, along with elements of the story being removed from the game. It blew my mind when I saw the Japanese version of the game had a load more chatter. Trouble Bruin would have a chat with you before battles, and Heather would explain what is going on with Dark Demon. Whilst we got some dialogue, it wasn't nearly as frequent. These days there is a patch to add the translator text back in, the power of the internet and all that. The soundtrack is an incredible feat of Mega Drive composing, setting the tone of each level and adding to the atmosphere of the universe, from tracks like Sky High, Escape Hero, Funny Angry, and of course, Crosswalk of Love. Every track attempts to use the Yamaha sound chip to create a unique and powerful setlist. Katsukiho Suzuki and the rest of the composition team put together a truly magnificent bit of 16-bit power. Along with this, the sound effects are amazing, with Headdy's "Yes!" and Bio's "Target!", the thuds of sets falling over, explosions, and more adding to the vibrancy and energy of this game. So far I've been speaking about the Mega Drive release, but there was also a port to the battery-hungry Game Gear. This release changes up a lot of things, from the initial run now having the spikes hurt you, along with Trouble Bruin taking the place of every Keymaster in different outfits, a bit of an intro sequence, and obviously a shorter run length. Also, one interesting thing about this is that you can perform hit stuns on some enemies, which given the difficulty of this, is a relief. Also, head case doesn't rotate through heads, rather giving you a static choice of selection, and the bonus game was cut entirely. Considering the technology within the Game Gear, it is impressive that they were able to fit in so much of the look and feel and atmosphere of Dynamite Headdy into the Game Gear. Even some of the tracks were able to be downsized to be portable. In a way, the Game Gear release feels a bit like a remix version of its Mega Drive counterpart, with some parts of stages being blended together, and its shorter length making it feel like a remix companion to the full fat album. Also of note, the Brazilian Master System version is actually based on the Game Gear version. There had been a Sega 32X port planned, but there aren't many details floating about for this one. We don't know if it would have been an updated version of the game, a remix version, or a whole new stage for the puppet hero to act on. When I was a kid, I loved this concept of not knowing what was real within the game. Is Headdy just an actor within this world? Or is he just a puppet who is fighting inside of a world that just looks like a play? The boss at the end might change your mind if you're one way or the other. It all adds to a unique world that hasn't really been replicated to this day. What I really like about how Dynamite Headdy presents itself is that it adds so many little touches, things that you might not even notice on your first, second or even third playthrough. Beano is a weird little character who just pops up to give you secret bonus points, but can also just randomly appear during Escape Hero. I've played this game a ton and I still get surprised when he pops up flying along, as it doesn't always happen. Oh, and my favourite boss concept is in this game as well, Babyface. The boss that, as you damage, it gets older via Russian stacking doll style popping, until you defeat it as an old man, or get caught by its grasping old hand where, after getting exactly what it wants, it promptly expires. I would love for Headdy to one day re-emerge from the curtain and take centre stage, but at this point, I don't know if it could upstage what titles such as Cuphead have done with the concept already. Although the focus of that is obviously the boss rush, whilst Headdy's was solid levels, surprises, and of course the crazy bosses as well. Dynamite Headdy lives on through emulation on the Mega Drive Mini, on most respective app stores on mobile, along with on Steam. It gets popped onto some retro collections such as the Sega Ages Collection Gunstar Treasure Box, but we've never had a hint of a sequel. Of course, being a treasure classic, there is an active speedrun community and love shown at the All Games Done Quick marathons. If you haven't taken a trip to the world of puppets and stagecraft, I would suggest visiting Headcase, Hangman, Biel, Heather, and of course, Headdy today.
Thank you so much for watching, have a lovely day, and I'll see you again at some point. Maybe.